Good Monday morning on the 24th day of February. Good Lord, 24th day of March. It feels like this year is flying by, but yet I'm trying to make it longer. You are listening to the Richard Schwartz and Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour. I'm Patrick Wooten, joined by Adrian Akins. No Richard Schwartz this morning, so don't know if that'll make the show better or worse. That'll be up to you, the fine listeners of this radio program, to make that decision, but we appreciate you all listening as you do on every Monday. And feel free to chime in on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395, or give us a call on the Supertalk call line, 888-808-8637. Before we kind of jump in, thoughts and prayers, thinking about Rolling Fork. I think today is actually the 2-year anniversary of the tornadoes going through there, and I think they actually I know they had tornado warnings last night up in Sharkey County near Rolling Fork, and saw video of a couple funnel clouds, so hopefully everyone is safe up there as we get to that horrific 2-year anniversary of the devastation that ripped through the Delta as we're in here, the spring stormy season. But everyone be safe. I will say hopefully the rain will put an end to the season of yellowing. I am tired of my car every morning being yellow since I've been booted out of the garage at our house because of the wife and 2 daughters' cars that have trumped mine. So it's just a nice yellow every day. You know, screened-in porch is yellow. The front porch is yellow. The car's yellow. It's, everyone's sneezing their head off. It's just the lovely season of yellowing.
Are you cleaning your porch right now, or have you given up until the pollen is finished?
No, I came home from work. What day was that? Tuesday of last week. And my wife said, we are cleaning it out. So I took everything off the screened-in porch. She'd ordered new patio furniture. So I first took all the patio furniture, which needed to be replaced. It was 5 years old, around to the front and put it at the street. Thankfully, got picked up before.
I was about to say, I'm sure it did.
Before the end of literally, I still had a piece to go when it was getting picked up. So literally, I went, hold on, I got one more piece. And so we did clean it. So we did, but it's now there's some yellow back in it. So we'll have to do another deep cleaning. But now it's easy to do because there's no patio furniture. It's literally moving 6 bar stools, move the rug out. So it's a much simpler process to clean. And the 2 screen doors we can prop open, and it's tile. I don't know where I found this. I told someone this the other day. I found a broom years ago that I can connect a hose to. It's a flat push broom, but it has water jets on the front of it. So water comes out the front as you're pushing. So it's like the greatest thing to clean, and it's not high enough pressure that it's going to mess up paint or anything like that, but it makes it really easy to clean the screen-in porch and the front porch and things like that.
Yeah, you're going to need to send a link to that.
I love it. It is one of the best purchases I have made. Although I did yesterday buy on TikTok some weed popper tool that I saw.
Are you on the TikTok shop, Patrick? Do you buy a lot from TikTok?
It's like the second thing I've ever bought. But I went through the other day, I was pulling weeds by hand. And I saw one, I was like, that's got to go. So I didn't even put gloves on. I just, with bare hands, started pulling weeds. So I saw this, for some reason, it just populated. And they just showed it like, I'm sure it's harder than it is, but just stuck it in the ground and poof, magic, little bit of pressure. The weed just popped out, root and all.
I don't pick weeds anymore since the Great Poison Ivy disaster of 2017. So.
Well, I had that. It wasn't 2017. I want to say it was 2022 that we have our yard that's fenced, and then we have like another acre. And I was pulling weeds and stuff off of, and some dead vines off of the trees right behind our fence, and didn't have safety goggles on. And it got in my eye.
Right.
Like I went to the office. My face was completely swollen. Had to go to the doctor and looked terrible. I was glad we weren't filming commercials anytime that week because
it would have been relatable.
That's right. Wouldn't have been good at all. But yeah, I'll see that. Hopefully the TikTok thing will come in and just pop them and go. It was $12. I was like, it's $12. I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. Anything that's better than my hands.
Right, absolutely.
For sure. But so yeah, if you want to chime in, if there's anything on social media that you bought. I mean, I guess to me, social media is the new version, although it still exists, of like the Home Shopping Network or QVC that people would sit at home and then call, because I can remember my mother ordering some things off of.
Right. Yeah. No, I have a friend from high school whose parents bought everything there was on QVC.
Yeah. And so, but now it's just easy, because literally I was like, look at that. Hit the button, Apple Pay, my name, everything's already in there, $12 and like 95 cents. I was like, perfect. It's worth it. So we'll see how that all shakes its way out. But
we used to have like probably a baker's dozen of the old Amber Vision. My dad loved those things. I mean, it had the little A sticker, and if it would fall off, he would glue it back. He'd be like 15 years old.
I think I'm too young for Amber Vision. Will you explain to me what that is?
Well, the new ones are called like Eagle Eyes.
Okay.
Yeah. Back in the day, they were kind of yellow lenses, and they cured everything.
Yeah.
Like, the glare from this and the out at night, and you could see like an eagle. And you'd get like 6 pair for $7. You had to stay up to about midnight. And I remember when the first order came in, he wore them all the time. He had to, and he's one of those that, like, if he likes something, he's going to go order 5 more of them just in case they discontinue it.
My husband does that.
Okay, so
as well.
yeah, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad I
just
finally
did that with
met
a pair of
somebody.
shoes.
Yeah, that's what my husband with pants and shoes. It must be a male thing.
Yeah, my dad, he's got 3 pair of the exact same shoes, and it's just funny like that. But yeah, we had the Amber Visions forever. He's still got a pair of them from 40 years ago. He doesn't wear them; they're like collectors.
Yeah,
But that was the old QVC.
That is hilarious.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
We got
hilarious.
a bunch of things off of it too, and most of it was junk.
Yeah.
But some of the things were pretty cool, actually. It was kind of buyer beware.
I can remember in high school, I got on this kick of, I told my mom I wanted a necklace, a gold necklace.
Okay.
And I can remember she bought one off of QVC, and it came and I went, that's terrible. So we returned that one. And so eventually, when my parents lived overseas, when I was in college, she got me like a good gold necklace with a cross on it.
Like a wide chain?
No,
small
it
chain?
ended up being a rope. It was a gold rope chain, but they lived in Saudi Arabia, so it was 18 karat gold with the cross. I still have the cross. I've since sold the chain and all that. She gave me a ring, which I never wore.
I don't see you wearing much jewelry, Patrick.
No, I have an Apple Watch, a wedding band that I've had for almost 23 years, and then literally, my 2 bracelets. One the lady gave us from the race we did. The green one was from the one we did for the Children's Hospital March of last year that I didn't get to do. And then the other one's the church one they give every February. So this is this year's February one, which is just trying to encourage you to pray in February for one thing for 1 minute at 1 o'clock every day. So it's the P28 bracelet that they give. But yeah, no necklaces now. That was never got a tattoo.
You got to really be committed to the necklace look. You know?
I mean, but it's like I laugh. I have lots of guy friends who do wear crosses. I just, don't do it anymore.
So you don't have any tattoos?
No tattoos.
Yeah, me neither.
Never been a tattoo person. Although in college, I knew what I would have gotten.
Okay.
If I got a tattoo, would have been once I got branched armor, it would have been the Tasmanian Devil, because I just love the Tasmanian Devil cartoon. On an M1A1 tank is what I would have gotten as my tattoo. I just never got a tattoo.
I mean, it sounds like you've thought about it. There's no time like the present.
I'm not getting a tattoo, because I literally, the only time my wife and I went to Mexico, gosh, this is probably, I'm trying to think back, because I deployed to Afghanistan 16 years ago, so this is after that. So this is probably 10 years ago. She and I went on adults-only trip. We were on the beach. They were literally doing henna tattoos on the beach. And I was like, I'm going to get one. So I had the guy do a shark, of all things, on my ankle. Not even on my arm.
Yeah, you got to do it on your neck.
I did it. Yeah. I did it on my ankle. I did laugh, because when it was all said and done, I was like, how much? And he was like, $20. I'm like, I have $7 cash. That's literally all the cash I have. He's like, perfect.
Sold.
So it's $7 to get this henna shark on my ankle. And for the first day, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like it. Day 2, I'm standing in the salt water of
trying to wash it off
with sand, literally just trying to scrub that thing off my ankle. And I was like, got that fix done.
How long did it last?
thankfully, I spent a lot of time in the salt water and did rub it. You could still see it when I got back, but it was gone after probably 10 days. Because even I got back and then in the shower here, I'd be like with a loofah in the soap, getting it to go away. But yeah, no tattoos for me.
Yeah, me neither.
So,
I don't know what I want,
Yeah. I did laugh. Someone chimed in and said, get a tattoo of Richard Schwartz on your bicep. So
I was going to get a tattoo of Richard Schwartz's bicep on your bicep.
Oh,
yeah.
Now we're thinking.
Yeah, that's right. That's from 2 years ago. That's right. The muscle suit from, the wrestling spot. Which
You owe it to the firm, Patrick.
No, I don't. No, I don't. Not at all. So, they got my loyalty, but that doesn't involve a tattoo. But you are listening to the Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour, and we'll be back right after this. Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour here on Monday, March the 24th. Appreciate everyone listening to the show. Feel free to chime in as we've talked about tattoos all in the first segment of the show. If you've got one, we were talking between the break, like, if you'd get it, I said the one I would 100%, no questions asked, which is not going to happen because I'm 56 years old, would be if I'd ever been in the Olympics. If I'd made the U.S. Olympic team, boy, I would have those 5 Olympic rings without a shadow of a doubt.
You could maybe start curling or something. There's got to be some underrated, sport that you can do as a older man, Patrick.
Curling would be great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we talked about this because I've done the show enough now for 7 or 8 years. Would be what Olympic sport could I? Curling, I do feel like is something I could do for sure. In college, I was a heck of a badminton player.
Oh, okay.
Because we had to take a PE. I think most colleges you have to take a PE at some point, and I took badminton and volleyball. So we played badminton half the semester and volleyball half, and I made it to the finals of our badminton tournament.
Were there like 5 people total?
No, we had 30 people in this PE class, and I made it to the finals. I lost in the finals, but I was pretty daggum good at badminton back in the day.
We should bring that out as a little firm activity.
That's right, badminton.
I don't think Southern Miss offered badminton.
I think they need to invent a new sport for the Olympics, and that would be watching parents get the children out of the house in the morning to school. Like, how good are you at that?
Yeah.
I could maybe win that.
You got 10 minutes.
That's
and then
right.
and it would be a whole event. And I believe you would probably exceed at that. Richard Cross, many others. Mandy Gunasekar, I watch him in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's amazing what you got to do when you have kids work, them in school, food to get. I mean, that's a sport.
Oh,
You got to get the most difficult kid in the car first.
It's easy because now you get it to where mine drives. As of January, the youngest started driving, but it's down to a science. Like, I went to the gym this morning, then came home, did my Wordle. Do the Wordle every day.
Of course you did.
I did my Wordle. Because the point is, the little bit of OCD I have, I can't have the day I miss. It's no different than I'm doing in church. I'm doing the Bible app. It's the Bible in a year. So I'm up to date. I've read all the way through yesterday, which is great. I've read the Bible cover to cover before, but it's been 16 years. So it's you go back and some of that stuff in the Old Testament, you're like, oh, my Lord.
I forgot you were doing that, so you're on track.
I'm on track.
Okay.
Yep. Like, I haven't read today's yet. I usually read it in the evening. But so I did the Wordle. Then I literally make Rosemary's breakfast, which I know what she likes, cinnamon rolls. She likes the flaky Pillsbury cinnamon rolls you cook in the oven. And what I've learned is there were 8 in the tube. Well, I never cook all 8. You cook 6. 2 just get chunked because it gives you more icing for the 6.
Oh, interesting.
Is how you
But there's only 3 of you.
But, I mean, Jennifer doesn't eat them.
Okay.
My wife, I'm not going to eat them. So, literally, you have 6, so Rosemary ate 2, and she'll eat these again tomorrow.
Okay.
Like, these she likes warmed back up.
Interesting.
And then I fixed her lunch, the Caesar salad she takes to lunch at school, which is hilarious to me.
That is hilarious.
That she takes, Caesar salad and grapes and club crackers, fruit snacks, and then a blue Gatorade.
I'm pretty sure my parents let me pack my own lunch by about 10 or 11, and there's really no telling what I took every day.
Yeah. But she drives herself now, which is great. So that part is nice. But she's got it down to a science. 7 o'clock, her alarm goes off. but that's just the initial warning alarm. She's not getting out of bed till 7:15.
Okay.
Is when she actually gets out of bed, and then usually I get breakfast, and she now has me bring breakfast to her room, which I love because it's a girl.
That's cute.
It's a girl because she's in front of the big makeup mirror doing all the makeup and everything. So she literally will do her makeup, eat, and then she rolls out of the house about 7:40, 7:45. But where we live in Madison, she's going against the flow. It's 7 minutes.
Sure.
7 minutes from our house to school, so it's perfect.
Yeah, I usually wake up at 4:45, go to the gym, and do 30 minutes worth of laundry dishes before anybody else in my house wakes up.
They have a gym that has the laundry dishes.
And that, it's really a multitasking
you get to come do that for the.
I've usually had 2 cups of coffee before anybody else even wakes up. So
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, 5:30. I got up this morning at 5:30 is when I went to the gym.
We have a phone call from Bob.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you about some judges.
Good morning, Bob. Thanks for listening as always.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. I'm so glad you don't have the Schwartz and Associates tattoo yet.
No, not at all.
Yeah, look, basketball has been great. I've been watching a lot of it. It's very interesting as far as the Ole Miss Rebels and Alabama are both there in the Sweet 16, and I think there's been more SEC teams than ever that has ever made it to the Sweet 16 bracket.
7 out of 16. There's 7 out of the 16 are SEC schools.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's good. Hey guys and lady, I need to ask y'all about judges today. Over the years, y'all have had a lot of experiences with different various judges that have been on the bench, and they are the law when it comes to a lot of civil and criminal court cases in the state of Mississippi. And a whole nother bracket, it's like a sports bracket. A whole nother sports bracket is our judicial bracket is federal judges by itself. In y'all's opinion, is the judicial system, does it need improvement, and where would be some of those things that it needs improvement as far as judges, appointing of judges, and hearing cases and making the court system work more efficiency?
Yeah, great question, Bob. We appreciate you being a loyal listener to the show. Judges are human beings. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to bring in their background, their mindset, because it's just human nature. I do chuckle that Mississippi's got the uniform rules of circuit court, the uniform rules of chancery court, and as Adrienne sits across from me, she's heard me say this lots of times. The only thing uniform about the uniform chancery rules is there's nothing uniform about them.
That's right.
Each judge kind of does their own thing. I mean, I'll give you the best example is business involving a minor is supposed to be done in secret's not the right word, but in a closed courtroom. So like a minor settlement in Mississippi, the age of majority is 21. So let's say you have a 16-year-old who was in an accident and we're presenting their settlement to the chancery judge. Technically, they're supposed to clear the courtroom. And it's supposed to be the minor, the parents, the insurance company's lawyer, us, the judge, the court reporter, the judge's law clerk. That's traditionally should be the only people in that courtroom. Well, I know of one chancery district in the whole state that actually follows that. Otherwise we're just presenting it in open
packed courtroom.
That's right, a packed courtroom where you can walk in and go, oh my gosh, the docket is 12 pages today. I think, like anything, 99% of our judges are wonderful people, have all the right intentions to perform their job each and every day. But some are going to lean left, some are going to lean right, and just those leanings are going to come into play on their rulings and so forth. I mean, thankfully in Mississippi we have a judicial performance committee that if we have a judge that fails to perform their duties properly, a complaint can be lodged against them. Federal's a little more challenging because those judges are appointed for life. They're not up for re-election like our folks are in Mississippi Date, year in and year out. So, but I think generally they're good, but you're going to have some ultra-conservative judges, some ultra-liberal judges, and so they're going to interpret things differently, and that's where you hope that the Court of Appeals, which I do generally think the Court of Appeals is a more diverse mix of judges to where you get a lot of different perspectives, will hopefully, kind of call it down the middle. Because as lawyers on our side, and I can tell you on even think of the defense side, when we're all having conversations with each other, all we say is we want judges who are going to call the balls and strikes fairly. You just want it to be consistent and call the balls and strikes, fairly. You don't want one side favored over the other. But it's just, if a judge is dropping the ball, use the tools that you can through the Judicial Performance Committee to make sure that if they need to go, they go, and if they don't need to go, they get the corrective discipline to understand why what they did was not the right thing to do.
Is the case of Bobby DeLauda, is that a common thing where judges will take favors or promises of favors in exchange for different things in the courtroom that they rule on? I mean, some of it is not illegal, and some of it may be slightly illegal. But in the case of the Bobby DeLauda case and Ed Peters and Dickie Scruggs, DeLauda was promised a federal judgeship for life, cash, and various things.
I know. Hey, the music's playing, Bob. We're going to go to a break, so I'll jump on that when we come back from the break as you're listening to the Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour, and we'll be right back. Yeah, we hung out at our pool on Saturday because we heated it, which took forever to get it to an acceptable temperature. And so, this one came on at one point, and because the lyrics are on the screen, and I just started belting it at the top of my lungs. And of course, she's there with her friend boy, and my college daughter was home, and one of her best friends was here, and they just all bust out laughing. They're like, "Go, Mr. Patrick!"
Well, that's good. At least you haven't embarrassed them.
Oh, you got to embarrass your kids.
You embarrassed himself.
No,
that's okay.
I made 6th grade all-county chorus in Fairfax County, Virginia. I am on a record that I think my parents still have.
Okay. We can play that as the music for the radio show.
I do hope they still have it.
You bring that in, I'm going to play it.
So. I really hope they do have it. Like, I remember, Favorite Things was one of the songs we ended up doing. Okay,
I actually sang that as a solo in the 5th grade.
Oh, see, look at you. See,
yeah.
Yep. So this was 6th grade, all county chorus. They took a picture of all of us that I remember on the back of and this is a 33 1/3. This is the big album. So I do hope my parents still have that. Now, they've moved a good 15 times since then, so hopefully they haven't lost this one in the move.
They probably tossed it. My mom tossed all of my things at some point, just not very sentimental, which I'm not actually either. So.
No, my parents have gotten over the last decade of when they show up, they're always showing up with a box.
Same.
Here's stuff. Here's some more of your stuff. Oh, here's a piece of furniture. I'm like, I have nowhere to put this, so it's actually sitting in the storage room at the office.
Yeah, my porcelain doll collection is in my garage.
But I do have all my original Star Wars stuff. They did, for some reason, kept that in my Matchbox cars, which I'm proud of.
We have that. Actually, Hunter has a big Star Wars collection that we were wondering if it was worth any money because his parents showed up with it at some point in the move.
Yep. And I have China that my dad bought my mom from Vietnam when he deployed there in 65, 66, and she never used it. So they gave it to me. So it's in a box up in our attic.
Is it pretty?
It is very pretty. I actually finally looked at it after a move, 5 years ago when we moved into this house. So we went from our house that we sold to the rental house. Well, this one was being built, and I looked at it when in the rental house, and I was like, this is actually pretty. And it's like
acceptable.
It's like a 12-piece setting. And they were like, save it for one of your daughters. Give it to one of the girls someday.
It can sit in their attic.
It's exactly right. It can go sit in their attic someday is what I can hope. But, it's what we got. Well, we got a texter in, so feel free to join us on the C Spire text line here on the Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour. The C Spire text line 601-879-4395, or you can give us a call like Bob did on the Supertalk call line 888-808-8637. I know Bob was referencing one specific case. Again, like anything, are there judges who give in to temptation? Yes, there are. But those are clearly the exception and not the norm, is what you got. I've been practicing 31 years. This year, September will be 31 years since I got my bar results that I thankfully only had to take one time. I mean, Adrian's in her teens when it comes to years. So, no, I mean, judges are nice. I enjoy seeing judges, and because I've done it 31 years, I've been in front of a lot of them a lot of times, and so we're very friendly and cordial with each other. But it's true; it's a business relationship. They're doing their job. I'm doing my job. Is what you got. Is how that works out. So I think there's a few bad apples in any profession out there, whether it's going to be, radio producer or, a judge, a doctor, teacher, whatever it may be. But through and through, most judges have a heart of gold and are in it for the right reasons, is what we got. And then we got a great question. If a federal district judge doesn't have jurisdiction over the president, then who should? Well, federal district judges do have jurisdiction. The president, signs an executive order or takes some action. You have to be a party in proper standing, so someone who's been aggrieved by that or directly impacted by that can go to a federal district court to file an action. The president doesn't pass the laws. Let's go back to Civics 101. That's Congress who passes the law, and the president can either sign them or veto them. So the laws are actually initiated and passed by Congress. Now, the president has certain authority that he can do as the leader of the executive branch, i.e. executive orders and so forth. But again, those executive orders are going to expire, just as if, 4 years or a little less than 4 years now, we'll have an election in 2028. So you could turn around and whoever wins that in January of 29, if it's somebody from a different political party or even someone from the same political party but doesn't agree with the executive order that's been entered, they can change it. That's not quote unquote a law because it hasn't been passed by Congress. It's simply an order. It would be like Richard, at the office saying everyone has to wear blue shirts on Monday. If he instituted that rule, he's got to do it. We're not putting that in our handbook, but he would have to say, I want everyone to wear blue shirt Monday. We could do it. Well, guess what? Someday, if when he retires or the good Lord calls him home in 150 years from now because the man's going to live forever, and you got someone came in and said, nope, we're not going to have blue shirt Mondays, we're going to have red shirt Mondays. You can put it in there. That's what the executive order is. But the courts are a check. The founders of our government did a fabulous job of setting up a checks and balances between the legislative branch, the judicial branch, the executive branch, and it takes all three of them to keep this wonderful republic operating as it should, is what we've got. So there you go. There's the answer to that one. Dash cams. Thought about this because I actually saw a car the other day with a dash cam. And I said, are dash cams legal in Mississippi? Well, the answer is yes. But did you know there is a law on it that says you cannot mount it on your windshield if it will block your line of sight.
Okay. Well, I was wondering, I've seen, individual dash cam footage. I mean, that's interesting, I guess. Do you think it would be beneficial to have one?
I think in today's day and age, it's definitely probably helpful just to have it to immediately, if you're involved in an accident, you'd have, potentially have the footage that's there. So it's just another piece of evidence that we could use, no different than we tell our clients that if you're in an accident and you're capable, please take photos at the scene following the accident. Take photos of the adverse's car, of their car tag, things of that nature. I think it's important. So it'd just be a piece of evidence. But, don't mount it on your windshield if it's going to block your line of sight, because then you're actually violating Mississippi law. And the other thing is, if you're recording on private property, there you could run into issues. Public property, no issues. But if you turn and go on someone's private property and start recording and you don't have their permission, there could be issues with that on video. Of course, audio, Mississippi's a one-party consent state.
Right.
It's how that works out. But yeah, I think we see more and more dash cams that are out there. I know we've had clients who be like, "Hey, I got it on the dash cam," and send us the video and so forth. Traditionally though, it's just a forward-facing dash cam. So when you're hit from behind, you're not getting the video footage.
How much does a dash cam cost?
It's not very expensive.
Okay.
I bet you could find one on the TikTok shop.
You probably could. Yeah, it might not work for very long.
That's right. Kind of like what I did. I bought a knockoff GoPro years ago.
There's all kind of great footage of you and your family in China.
That's right, exactly. and it did not work very well. I think literally it was like $39, and because we were going snorkeling, and it was the most.
Well, did it work for the purpose?
It worked for the one time we used it, and then it would never work again.
Okay.
Which was disappointing. And then I bought the disposable camera week before last when we were on spring break, and it never worked. Like at the dive shop in Belize, my daughter wanted it for snorkeling, and it did not work. Like the button, it was just made wrong. It was
supposed to work to film the underwater?
Yeah, to be able to take it underwater and take pictures, but it wouldn't take the pictures. So clearly it was just a faulty one. That was there. And needless to say, my 16-year-old was disappointed because we saw sea turtles and
Well, I was about to
of
ask. I
things.
know you went scuba diving. Mm-hmm. Did you see better stuff snorkeling or scuba diving?
Shockingly saw more aquatic life snorkeling than scuba diving. Because one of the things scuba diving was the Great Blue Hole, which really is just stalactites and stalagmites because it's just a cave where the roof collapsed, so there wasn't a whole lot of sea life there.
Is that how it got the name? So it is actually a sunken cave?
It's a sunken cave.
Okay.
It's a sunken cave, and that's one of the top 5 dive sites in the world. But no, snorkeling, some of the
They find like a bunch of bones and pottery way down in the bottom of that thing? They couldn't remember they couldn't tell if it was actually like people just throwing stuff in there as like a wishing well, or if they actually would swim down there and put it.
It's 408 feet to the bottom of the Great Blue Hole, and it's like 50 miles offshore of San Pedro, Belize. So it is way out there.
So how far down did you go the whole way?
I went 147 feet.
Okay.
104, which is the deepest I've gone on a dive. Yeah, I would not have gone 408 feet. My ears were already popping at 147.
Yeah, that gives me anxiety just thinking about it.
But it's amazing. It's great. So, you're listening to the Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour, and we'll be back for the 4th and final segment right after this.
Just let me know what you want.
Yeah. Here on the Schwartz & Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour, as we power through the 4th and final segment. We just talked about dash cams. Other thing that I found, which is disappointing, is that Mississippi has the most traffic deaths per 100,000 people in America, which is really, really disappointing. And the 2 factors that come into play for that are we have the 4th worst roads in America, according to a survey, which I'd love to know what the other 3 states are, if we have the 4th worst.
Right.
I would say West Virginia would probably
be bad.
From some research I've done.
Yep. And then our seatbelt usage is extremely low. It's between 77 and 78%. Now, I can't imagine getting in a car today and not buckling my seatbelt.
Me neither. It's just a habit at this point.
Yep.
I wonder where most of those deaths are. There's so many rural places in Mississippi that it seems like most of them would be in Jackson or the coast or, somewhere with a lot more people. But did it say?
It didn't say. It just, where we are, it's like 23 deaths per 100,000 people. It was almost 700 the last survey, which was a couple years ago, which is much higher. So, like, Montana was up there as well, which only had 114 deaths, and we're at 700, but their population is much smaller there. And I think part of the rural is it, too. There's two-lane. You get a lot of the two-lane roads and farm equipment, big trucks, and so forth all comes into play. And then people just speed. Speed kills, I think, is what happens with regard to everything that's out there. But, yeah, seatbelts save lives. You got to use them. Now, I say that, I try to never buckle a seatbelt on a plane. That's like my one act of rebellion.
Oh, here we go. Just because of a problem with authority or because you just don't like the way it feels? I'm
like, if it's going to crash, now, other than the Canadian flip over, which I would have been the person who got not in a good position, not being buckled. I'm like, if the plane's going to crash, the seatbelt's really not going to save me on a plane crash.
Yeah, I'll be on a flight on Thursday. All the recent flight situations have made me a little nervous.
Yeah, I would just maybe give you a parachute nowadays. You feel better.
Well, I do chuckle that, we flew from Dallas to Belize City, so that was a major commercial airliner. That was fine. That went well. But in Belize City, we had to get on a local Belizean aircraft to take the 14-minute flight to the island we were on. And so, of course, you get your ticket, you're there, you watch them put the luggage right underneath the plane. It's a propeller plane. And when we're the last ones on, and they took my 16-year-old, she sat in the co-pilot seat. Of course, it's open cockpit. She's in the co-pilot seat. Once they shut the door for her, basically the pilot, there's no, hey, folks, life vests are in front of you. Put your seatbelt on. It was take off. There we go. We never got above 2,000 feet. You're over water the whole time.
But I laughed. Feel like they have like a John boat motor in them too. You can feel everything.
Oh yeah, it was so loud. But I laugh. It's like it's like put your seatbelts on. Hey, we are going to fly over water. There are life vests. It was like nope. Doors shut, I'm hitting forward, we're hitting the runway, and away we go.
Yeah, I wonder how many times he's done that, a 14-minute flight, Probably.
Well, we did it coming back, of course, getting back to Belize City, and we sat right behind the pilot. So once we landed, I said, boy, you've done that a time or two. He goes, yeah, I think I've done it. He's right. He said, I've done it more than 1,000 times. And it was funny because he put it in autopilot immediately once we took off because he's reaching down, filling out his flight log, went and got a sip of water. Like both hands are he's looking out the window, just enjoying.
Yeah, I'm glad I can't see that while I'm on the flight. Yeah. I've never been on one of those tiny, tiny planes, the smallest ones, the ones from Jackson to Atlanta or Dallas. I think it would make me a little nervous.
I mean, it is funny. I was like, that's a whole different world right there that he just watching your pilot kick back and not kind of out. I was like, for a second, I was expecting him to light up a cigarette or something up there, and just because he was just enjoying life as we flew. But pretty wild. So you gotta definitely had a good thing. Yep, I like it. Said after someone texted in and said after I had a bad crash in a race car and just walked away, I've worn them religiously, and we're talking about seatbelts since 1979. I mean, it does make I've been rear-ended twice in a car. Right. Of course, had my seatbelt on, and it does. It locked me in there, so I didn't go flying into the steering wheel. So it really is important, folks. It makes all the difference in the world. But we appreciate you listening to the Schwartz and Associates Injury Lawyers Legal Power Hour. Car wrecks, motorcycle wrecks, truck wrecks, on-the-job injuries, slip and falls, dog bites, Social Security disability claims. We're just one call away, 601 or 662-988-8888. We appreciate Adrian being here this week, one of the senior associates at the firm, and hope you have a safe and healthy week. And remember, one call, that's all.